Well, I'm terrified of horror films, and I probably last one I watched was when I was 7. I watched the
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Chitty.
Welcome to Frame by Frame, Andy.
Thank you. How are you doing, Stephen?
I'm doing great. Technology is against us as always, but we're gonna.
Unbelievable.
I know. We're just gonna figure it out somehow. Just to rig up some sort of a system that is flawless, and foolproof.
Maybe we could. Can we build one ourselves? An audio recording
Device.
Online software that only we use.
Yeah, we can
frame
build
by
it.
frame audio. Let's do it. It can't be
Frame by
that
frame.
hard. It's got to be easier than this.
Yeah, it's just 2 cups and a piece of string. Come on. I mean, what
Yeah.
more do you need?
How far away do you live from me? We just get a string for that length, and then
Yeah, it's a pretty.
perfect.
It'll be a bit of a weird straight line. I don't think we'll be able to make it, but. Oh,
Not with that attitude, Stephen.
Not with that. I don't think we can do it. We're not going to be able to do it, Andy. It's just impossible.
You talking to me?
Did you have a brain tumor for breakfast?
Then who the hell else are you talking? You talking to me?
No, funny how? I mean, funny like a clown.
I'm Peter Venkman. We all go a little mad sometimes.
Man that doesn't spend time with his family will never be a real man.
Damn!
I'm kind of a big deal.
First rule of Fight Club is do not talk about Fight Club.
Yeah, baby!
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
It's just madness, I tell you. Okay. So today we're going to be talking.
Well, you actually, I've just wanted to interject. You're going to be surprised because for once I've done my homework.
Wait, you've done some homework.
I have done all my homework. I've watched every single Andrew Garfield film.
Oh, Andrew Garfield.
Andrew Garfield. I've watched every one of his films.
Okay. Isn't that Spider-Man?
Yeah. That's
Okay.
who we're talking about, isn't it, today?
No. Alex Garland was the subject matter that we talked about last week in
No.
preparation for this. Alex Garland, not Andrew Garfield.
Oh.
Are you okay?
Well, yeah, I'm okay. That's hours of my life I'll never get back. Just watching all those Andrew Garfield films.
Yeah, I know, and it's okay. Well, you never know. We might do a podcast on Andrew Garfield, but it's okay. Don't feel bad. Don't feel.
I mean, Under the Silver Lake was okay. Silence was good. Hacksaw Ridge is all right, but anyway. Well, who's Alex Garland then?
Who's Alex Garland? That is perfect. Who is Alex Garland? Well, that's a really good question. Does Alex Garland even know who Alex Garland is?
Oh well, does anyone ever know really who
we
anybody
are?
is?
No.
Yeah.
We've gone off the deep end already. Right, Alex Garland. You've already done homework on Alex Garland, though. I'm pretty sure.
Of course, that was the joke, Stephen. It was a joke.
I'm pretty sure you know. He hasn't got a very vast career, but it's small enough to be notable.
His output is great. His
output, yeah. I mean,
so it might not be huge, but it's very,
he-
very good. Yeah, I mean, he's a visionary director, isn't he? You can sort of see what's on the film is exactly what's been imagined in his head, and he's got it out there,
He's very humble about it as well. I don't know if you've seen many documentaries about or interviews with him.
I've seen a few interviews, yeah. I didn't know there's any Alex Garland documentaries. But...
Well, I say documentaries. I mean more like watching the behind the scenes of Men or.
You've made a documentary about Alex Garland, haven't you, Stephen?
I actually made a documentary about Judy Garland. Totally messed up again.
Oh,
Judy Garland.
And in that film, that documentary, all the acting elements was done by Andrew Garfield. I remember it just all comes full circle, doesn't it?
I
There
looked
you go.
into it, and basically Alex Garland thought that he was going to be a journalist in his
Right.
early life, and he was very much fascinated by travel.
Did you always want to be a writer? Was that always an ambition?
No, not at all. My dad was a cartoonist, and I grew up around comic books, and I drew a lot, and I thought I'd be a cartoonist too. And because he was a cartoonist, a lot of his friends were journalists. I thought there was a sort of a career path that might exist, which was being a journalist, which is writing.
Mm-hmm.
But sort of very loosely, I was thinking, I love backpacking, and maybe I could be a journalist, maybe I could be a foreign correspondent. And in some sort of vague way, I sort of half pursued it. So when I'd be backpacking, I sort of thought in some weird way, I'm looking for stories. And then at a certain point, I realized it wasn't for me in various ways. But one of them is I'm just not suited to writing non-fiction because I find it very constricting. I love reading it, but I find it very difficult to write. If you feel duty bound to describe the thing as it happened, and if you just invented it, but you based it on a kind of truth, that got around that problem. And then I started writing about my backpacking, not as a kind of journalism, fake journalism, but as just thinking, no, this is fiction. And then that turned into my job. I wrote a book about backpacking when I was 24, and that really started my writing life.
He seems like a very, very humble person who doesn't always feel as though he should be a part of the club. He often cites himself as having imposter syndrome.
What always interested me was that I'd meet writers who knew they wanted to be writers from age 12 or 11 or something, because they loved reading and they got drawn to it. And then they spent their teenage years sort of doing ambitious adolescent dry runs. You know, the first 20 pages of a novel or poetry or short stories or whatever it happened to be. And I've always felt kind of impressed by that and surprised, like, how could you know that young? So it was sort of cartoons via fake journalism, via backpacking, and then suddenly writing a book, and then thinking, oh right, so is that what I am now? I'm a novelist, and then struggled with that for a couple of years and thought, no, I'm not. Everybody knows imposter syndrome, and writers have a complex version of imposter syndrome because many writers are writing but not necessarily published, and so they get to double down on their own imposter syndrome, you know. But I had a very, very big dose of imposter syndrome, as I guess everybody does. I thought, I've stumbled into this. I am essentially not just having imposter syndrome, I am also an imposter on top of, on top of the neuroses. I am actually the real thing. But also I think scared of the book world. I never felt at home there. And so I paid back the advances and got myself out of the contracts for books 3 and 4, and then wrote a zombie movie. And since then I've been writing, but in the world of films. And I have over the years learned, oh no, you were a writer. Mm-hmm. Like I now I understand writing. I really feel I really feel a sort of deep kinship with writing. And I was wrong. I was as much a writer as anybody else.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Because if you watch his work, it's very, it's very good. Visually it's striking. You wouldn't think.
Yeah.
He clearly knows what he's doing.
He does clearly know what he's doing, but I think it's a virtue in a way to not have that cockiness, to not think, because then you end up making films that, he doesn't make things to please people. He makes things that he knows that he would enjoy. And I think that's where, he thinks that maybe the film industry is a little bit more of a people pleaser. He's not there to do that. He's there to and that's why it works. It works because he loves what he does.
Yeah. Well, that's what, that comes across in his output. Absolutely. Yeah. I just saw it. He wrote 28 Days Later.
That's it. Yeah, 28 Days
Wow.
Later, and I think that's probably when he was really coming into his own with screenwriting. I mean, it's that's I definitely preferred the first film, not the second one though. I don't know why the second one was
Oh, there's a 28 months later or 28 weeks later.
weeks later.
Weeks.
Yeah, and
I didn't mind it. Yeah, Robert Carlyle's in it, isn't he, for a little bit? I didn't mind it, but the first one's obviously it's definitely better. It's definitely a better film.
Yeah. Another thing that I see about Alex Garland is he's actually brave enough to kind of look for different actors for his projects that aren't necessarily that you would think instantly for a role. I mean, Ex Machina, for example.
Yeah, all the people in that.
All the people in that. My mind just goes blank, and that always happens with me. It's like, here's a list of all the people in Ex Machina, and I'm like,
Yeah, there was Oscar Isaac.
Thank you, Oscar Isaac.
Alicia Vikander and Donald Gleason.
Over the next few days, you're going to be the human component in the Turing test.
One day the AIs are going to look back on us the same way we look at fossils.
Hello.
How do you feel about her?
Oh man, she's amazing.
You're impressed?
Yes.
Do you want to be my friend?
Of course. Now the question is, how does she feel about you?
Do you think about me when we aren't together?
Did you give her sexuality as a diversion tactic?
This is your insecurity talking. This is not your intellect.
Lie.
Did you know that I was brought here to test you?
No.
Does Ava actually like you? Or is she pretending to like you?
Yeah, he wasn't sure that Oscar Isaac would be suitable in the role. He had a different person in mind in his head, but when he delivered in the early rehearsals and of course the audition, he couldn't believe that his luck, because he really is quite a diverse actor.
He's a very, very diverse actor. Yeah.
Very. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you ever watched Moon Knight. It was a Marvel thing that he did, and he plays all these different characters in it. And he's fun. The show itself isn't very good, but I kept watching it because of his performance in it.
So that's another thing, another aspect of playing all these different characters. That's kind of interesting how that kind of loops in.
Yeah, obviously that's a Marvel show.
Yeah.
Not men.
It's not men. It's definitely not men. And that's the film. That's the film that's kind of like brought our attention to Alex Garland this time around.
Well, yeah, because we were having a discussion about disturbing films, weren't we?
Yeah.
And I usually, I come up with all the ideas at the very end of the podcast when we're ending, and then I just thought, Alex Garland, man, and you hadn't watched it, so this is what's triggered this.
Very much so, and you know what? I'm glad you did, because that is one of those films that does stay with you, and is quite. There's so much to think about when you come away from that film, and that's the same with all of his films. I mean, Alex Garland
really are,
provoke discussion, and that's great.
And Ex Machina being made in 2014, it's probably more relevant now than it was in 2014.
Yeah, artificial intelligence was kind of like peeking around. Yeah,
it's a peek around the corner going, I'm here, but don't worry about us.
It's like, of course, yes, Terminator, that won't happen.
No, nothing will come self-aware. And then,
It feels really, there's a big icky factor about AI.
Well, it gets to the point now where the people that have developed AI are now saying we really need to slow down with this.
Yeah.
We need to stop because we really don't know what we're messing with.
Fear? Now. Is that fear based?
Yeah, because and one of these developers was having a conversation with an artificial intelligence, and the artificial intelligence said, "You don't love your wife, you love me because I love you, and you can't love your wife if I love you because you must love me." And he was like trying to reason with it and say, "No," it's like, and this AI was like, "No, I'm going to end everything. I'm going to end all your life because you've got to be with me." It's a very bizarre thing. I know you won't watch it, but you know the Y Files, and
Yes.
I said that the episode. He talks about it on that, about how scary it is, and how we're so many minutes to midnight on the doomsday clock, and in his eyes, he goes, "We're way past it now because of AI." It's a really grim. It's a really grim watch.
I don't think I can handle grim watches as much anymore. I mean, it's AI is just another thing. It's just one of those horrible things that, to begin with, you're kind of fascinated with playing with it. Like with anything that's dangerous, there is that fascination. Whether it's AI, cigars, vaping. It's just like, in the beginning, it all seems like fun.
It's either those two things, isn't it? It's either AI or cigars.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh.
At the age of 80, Harrison Ford is starring as Indiana Jones, both old and young. Audiences could soon see a new performance by James Dean, who died in 1955. And an upcoming film will feature Tom Hanks and Robin Wright as they appeared in Forrest Gump nearly 30 years ago.
I'm gonna show you some magic.
This man became famous as a young Tom Cruise, a makeover from the AI company Metaphysic.
You know, I do all my own stunts, obviously.
It is now immortalizing actors through image capture like this to appear in future films without ever being on set. CEO Tom Graham.
There is a move now from many people to preserve their likeness that in the future could be used to create their performance. This is going to be a core asset for every performer.
You know, I could be hit by a bus tomorrow, and that's it. But my performances can go on and on and on and on and on.
But how that likeness is preserved, who has access to it, and who cashes in on it are key concerns of SAG-AFTRA, the union that represents actors.
We're not anti-AI. It is okay for performers' likeness, image, voice to be digitally modeled and captured, provided they know exactly what it's going to be used for and see that there are appropriate safeguards in place to make sure that that data is not made available beyond its intended use.
Safeguards that currently don't exist.
AI is just too much of a big risk.
Well, it is, but the problem with it is now it's turned into a new arms race or space race. Is all people are trying to develop it quicker than everybody else. But like the real experts are saying, slow down. We don't know what we're messing with here. Slow down. And but you know, like Russia trying to do it quicker than America trying to do it, you know, and
yeah.
So it's what's probably going to happen is one of these people do achieve it, true artificial intelligence, and the fear is don't really need those humans. Not very good, are they?
They're not very good. And you know what? And that's the big thing. It's like, take a look around, look in the mirror. You know, humanity isn't that bright. It isn't that good. And artificial intelligence is going to be able to kind of piece together a mass of knowledge, put it into one that we couldn't even possibly even imagine. Not one person could just imagine.
You know, we've just had the artist strike, haven't we? And the writer strike. This is all because of AI.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's going to get to the point now where you could walk into your house and then speaking to the computer, right, I want to watch a James Bond film, but starring me. I want the Bond girl to be Monica Bellucci, but from the Matrix sequel and blah, blah, blah. And then within 5 minutes, it creates it, it renders it, and you can watch it on the TV.
Yeah.
You know, what do we do with, do you remember Squid Games?
Yes.
That thing everyone was obsessed with.
Yeah.
What they were getting extras in. This is kind of going to AI, but still talk about the actor strike a little bit. They were getting actors in, they'd work one day, and then they go into a room, and they digitally map the face, and then that was it. Don't have to use them ever again, because they can just put them as background extras and digitally put them there. And that's, you know, I'm just saying, no, you pay me £100. I want to keep coming back and have a living wage. I want to be able to survive.
Yeah.
But they're saying, well, no, you don't need to. We want to keep your likeness as well after you're dead. So we can still put you in films in 50, 100 years from now. And actors are kind of go, no, don't like the idea of that.
I just can't, you know, I can't get my head around. I know this is a bit of a segue, but I just can't get my head around being able to enjoy anything that's been made by a computer, knowingly that it's been made by a computer, and not being able to have that kind of connection with a career. I mean, we grew up with actors. We watched them start at the beginning of their career, middle of the career, end of their career, the ups and downs. We kind of like have this invested interest in not just the career, the actual work that they do, but their lives as well.
Yeah.
If you get rid of all of that, then we don't have role models, we don't have mentors, we don't have people who we can look up to or aspire to be. We just end up being, you know, all that stuff, music, art, all of that kind of disappears, and that's when you start to lose the color of society.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
When society becomes just more like Metropolis, where we're all just drones. Well, like THX 1138. I mean, when I watched that, I mean,
yeah,
we all just become brain dead drones, and that's not the future that we need as a human race.
Oh, it really isn't. You know, at the minute, it's at the level where we could say to AI, I want you to write me scripts, you know, in the style of this, like this, and like that.
Yeah.
And it'll do it, but drawing from what it can read on the web. And it'll do something like it, but it won't be creating it itself. It's
an extract.
It's sort of taking bits of things, and it could probably write another Shakespeare play, but it'll be doing it by learning what Shakespeare done and doing something like it. And it's not really thinking of itself purely. No. It's artificial intelligence, but it's not self-aware yet. Yeah. That's the worry, and that's obviously what, you know, Ex Machina talks about.
And of course, when you think about what we've been given as people to play with, you know, the face apps, all the audio apps, all the different things that we can play with ourselves that are AI-orientated conversations, that everything's being tested with us to see what we will accept, what we won't accept, what we become obsessed about, what we don't become obsessed about.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube is full of songs like that's got Freddie Mercury singing a Beach Boys song.
Yeah,
AI generated this and that, and it really feels icky and horrible to me.
It is icky and it's horrible, and it's like I think as soon as we start to kind of walk away from all of that tech, I mean, it's something that you do as a musician. You are out there playing gigs, playing your heart out, because you know how difficult it could be in the next few years. You're making sure that you are there as a human presence in that world, because you can imagine how easy it would be to suddenly be replaced by ABBA at a wedding.
Yeah, there's a K-pop group that are purely artificial. The whole thing is AI. If people go to watch them, the holograms on stage of people that have never existed. It's all purely AI.
That's wrong.
But that look on your face, then, that's the look.
It's like, no.
Yeah.
And I can see why some parents are bringing kids up without screen time, without the zero screen time thing is I can understand it. You know, I totally get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But let's get to the architect of this conversation. All right, let's talk about Men.
Oh, yes. I actually think this is my favourite of his 4 films. Well, he did a miniseries, he's 3 films, and he's that miniseries in the middle of it, that Debs. But I think Men's totally up my street.
It really is something that it's familiar and unfamiliar.
Yeah.
And it's comfortable and yet uncomfortable. It's sweet-natured and yet totally viciously hostile.
Hello.
Hi.
Mrs. Marlowe, yes?
Harper, yes.
Do, come in.
The woods
words I have to say.
It's a beautiful house.
But they're
Would it just be you staying, or
Excuse me?
Mrs. Marlowe?
No.
until you give your love. There's nothing more that we can do.
Apple from the garden?
Yeah, it was delicious.
No. Mustn't do that. Forbidden fruit.
Oh, God, sorry,
I'm joking.
Oh.
You're tormented.
It feels more like...
Haunted.
Yeah. Something happened. My husband went upstairs to our balcony and let himself go.
You must wonder why you drove him to it.
I didn't drive him to it.
I thought it'd be true. But if you had given him the chance to apologize, he'd still be alive.
What?
A man followed me out of the woods. He was stalking me.
What makes you say that?
I saw him twice.
Twice. I don't know if he saw you once.
Well, play a game. You hide, I'll see.
You must feel an awful sense of guilt.
Stay away from me.
What are you doing now?
What are you?
I mean, Rory Kinnear is such a great actor.
Yes, he is.
Because every character he takes on it's so different to each other. Even when they're all in, they talk with each other, like in the pub scene.
Yeah,
so good. Before we talk about the story now, I just would like to just point out just how great he actually is in it. And really,
and I've never known him before. I never knew what he's been in before. He's a completely new person, new face.
Yeah, he was in the Bond films, the Daniel Craig Bond films.
But he was Daniel Craig as well.
Yeah, it's that good. All he has
good.
to do, false teeth, and you can't tell.
Yeah, sounds like a Michael Myers thing to me.
Yeah, but no, he's good. He's really good in he's good in that. But he's only got like a small part in it. He just like works in the back at the HQ kind of thing. But
oh yeah, like a boffin.
And I think he's like a Shakespearean actor, isn't he? He does a lot of like stage work.
Yeah, I've from what I've seen of him and what he has done, yeah, he's classically trained theatrical actor. He comes from that point of view, and it's that is. I've never seen the likes of him apart from of course, there are comparisons with Little Britain. And if this was done as a comedy, it would have been completely different. But there is that element when you're sitting there and you're quite humoured by knowing that it's Rory Kinnear, and that there's a certain sense of black humour that kind of that blends into the whole performance.
Yeah, like when he plays that teenager.
Yeah,
that's quite funny, even though I can't tell because the CGI is not very good with that. When they put his face onto that teenager, but I don't know if that's on purpose because when you look like Annihilation, he can clearly do CGI incredibly well.
Yeah, and I think
so. I don't know if that was just it was supposed to look that weird and freakish on purpose.
Yeah, because it's a very Lynchian movie in terms of not being able to interpret it in just one way, and how all these personalities, why he looked like every single male, and I'm glad they stopped at the men. If it would have been a completely different film if he played the women as well.
Yeah, well,
including her friend.
The two girls that are in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what the film's in part about toxic men.
Toxic masculinity at the very heart of it. Yeah.
So the story's about a woman who she leaves her husband, doesn't she? That's what she does. And he's clearly a very toxic controlling person and tells her, if you leave me, I'm going to kill myself.
Yeah.
And then it's open to interpretation whether he actually has done that, or because she says in the film, doesn't she, that he was trying to climb down. She locked him out the apartment, and he was trying to climb down, and he slipped and he fell and died. So
yeah, and you wonder, is that her remembering? I mean, that's an unreliable narration of that whole unreliable part of it, because everything is seen from her point of view.
Yeah.
Is it guilt that says that he just fell accidentally? She didn't want to deal with the possibility that he might have actually taken his own life and done it on purpose. And that's in there as well. There is a lot of question. You don't know the answers because it's all her experience and point of view.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Would this film have been different? Obviously, it would be different, but if this film was made from a female's point of view. Because in the world we live in now, where we're all very aware and woke, is it okay for a man to make a film about toxic masculinity from the perspective of a woman?
Okay, and so imagine if this film was made instead by Jodie Foster.
Yeah, or Sophia Coppola.
Or Sophia Coppola. That is a good question. And it's funny because I looked at a few reviews and
I was invested, but after about the halfway point, it becomes clear this is a movie that just wants to wash, rinse, and repeat the same statement over and over and over and over and over and
it feels
over
suffocating
and over
from the get-go.
It's ambitious and it's a film about ideas.
Men, am I right?
What is shown is not for the faint. I mean, it is visceral, graphic, and downright nasty.
Y'all, I really didn't like this film.
A story about maleness birthing maleness.
Yeah, I wanted to leave at that point.
Okay.
I think, as we mentioned last week, if you don't like Mother,
men suck. Poor her.
It's not a general consensus that all men are pieces of shit. No, not at all.
It is a metaphorical folk horror film about misogyny and about how all men are the same.
Honestly feels like he just looked up the definition of gaslight on Google.
Please don't let this be one of those preachy movies that's just going to annihilate men the entire time in a way that's not clever or entertaining or insightful in any way. Please don't let it be the worst version of what I hope this is. And unfortunately, it pretty much was.
Men create broken versions of themselves, and it takes a woman to kind of absorb all that trauma for them. And she is a woman that is rejecting that.
He couldn't actually think of ways men treat women, so he just made him physically and emotionally abuse her. Cool.
Men tries to revisit the ideas of trauma, anxiety, and the female experience. It mostly just presents them rather than explores them.
And even just the title, Men, I swear that's such a bad title. I don't know, I feel like...
And let me say this right off the bat. I would file this under outstanding, amazing movies that I'll never watch again. They just exist. It happens.
The whole thing tells you this is a dreamy fairy tale, hyper-real or unreal environment.
But honestly, guys, we really need more women telling women's stories.
But I did enjoy it, and I'm very aware that you didn't.
Correct. I did not enjoy it. But I don't enjoy body horror, so therefore...
Yeah, exactly.
Not only does he not understand it because he is not a woman, he doesn't even understand it well as a man. So there's that.
Yeah, in terms of would I recommend it? No, I wouldn't. I would recommend Ex Machina.
Because he sees Jessie Buckley's character Harper as a vessel for women's trauma, he forgets to actually write her like a real person.
That makes me think of that Kylie Minogue video where all the people are piled in together. What is that?
All the Lovers.
All the Lovers.
Yes, but the much more, the nastier version of that.
And over again until the credits roll.
Men, am I right?
They either want to see it all splayed out from the woman's point of view, or they don't want it at all. It's very difficult to kind of get that balance with the genders when it comes to the reviews.
That's very, very odd because just verbal abuse can be just as bad as physical abuse anyway. So to use that as a
Yeah, they're just
negative
using that
criticism.
as a negative criticism to say that as if you can tell that this was written by a man because it only talked about the very easy things that happen in a relationship. And it's like, well, you know, this film doesn't want to kind of make it a 3-hour thing where they actually explain all the different possibilities. It's not a how to be a despicable man. It's just examples that this is what is happening in this relationship. You need to just know the basics so that you can carry on with the story. You don't need to know every type or describe every single form of abuse that is possible. And yes, it is gaslighting, and you can fill in the gaps. You know, I think it's very easy to fill in the gaps.
You can, and I'd take to account that she was married to this man, so she would have been suffering this kind of abuse for years.
Yeah, because it wouldn't have been like that in the beginning. She wouldn't have just gone into this understanding that abuse at that level. I mean, she probably would have. Well, gaslighting kind of is inviting. It kind of has that idea of I'm going to look after you. You're going to be, you know, I'm going to look after you. You're mine to look after. That possessiveness, you know, that kind of can start out in the beginning and can seem to be different and not hostile.
Yeah. There's a film that we watched. I can't remember what it's called. Anna Kendrick, so just remember her name.
Anna Kendrick, yeah.
Alice Darling. Woo! There we go. And she goes on holiday with her friends.
Mm-hmm.
And all the time she's scared. But it's very subtle. And you can tell she's with an abusive, but a controllingly abusive gaslighting partner. And she's scared to not speak to him every day, and she won't go out with her friends in case he rings. And she's scared to not be there. And it's very subtle, it's very understated, it's very well done. I would say this does it better. I'd say Men did it better.
Yeah.
Maybe because it's more of that kind of film that I like, where it's kind of got horror elements in it, and I'm always going towards that kind of film. But I would say,
we just want to know, why is she in this big country manor? This is why. These are the things that happened. It's kind of going. Were you just going on, just riding around the edge of that course, just to kind of, and you're glancing at that life. You're not there to have a picnic and stay for a day. You're just going past it, just so that we can see why she is there and what's going through her mind. I mean, there's so much going on with her mindset because it's what's left unsaid, what's not being said.
Yeah.
It's everything about her demeanor and her character and her sensitivities. I mean, when she's taking that walk, it's not the most comfortable walk through, but it goes through the extremes of absolute heavenly bliss.
Yeah.
And tauntingly awkward moments of
That's a really but that's a really, really good horror element at the tunnel.
Yeah.
When she's doing that singing, which ends up being and ends up being a motif throughout the film, doesn't it? You keep hearing it come back.
Oh, it's brilliant! It's brilliant.
Yeah, and then just that guy at the very you assume it's a guy. Just at the very end of the tunnel, just gets up, this silhouetted figure, and then just starts coming towards her. That's brilliant. Brilliant.
It is, and it's almost as if she summoned him. She summoned these spirits in a way. It's kind of very.
Well, you may have landed on something there, because I might be completely wrong. But what if every single man that she comes into contact with throughout this film is a different part of her ex-husband's personality?
That's kind of what I was thinking too, and it brought me back to that whole discussion about Texas Chainsaw Massacre being all those characters were elements of Tom Cruise personality in Cocktail. It's very easy to kind of find that, and I think so that the childish, the kid who was a child, and I noticed everybody was called her bitch at some stage. I think, apart from it was. They were hostile to her in many different ways.
Yeah.
Which
the vicar basically blaming her.
Yeah.
For him killing him. So it weren't my fault. Yeah, it was your fault. Couldn't you have said something else? Couldn't you have been different? That felt to me as something that her husband would have said to her.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, taking all blame from himself. You made me do this.
You made me. And that's a fascinating aspect of it's something that we all do as humans. you made me laugh, you made me sad, you hurt my feelings. You can't make somebody feel something. It's you have. Accountability is rarely there when people kind of feel hurt by somebody else. They never actually take accountability for that feeling being their own to own.
No, absolutely. But the circle of abuse where, someone might be put down all the time, completely put down, and made to feel like you're 1 meter, you're an inch tall, and you're worthless. But then when something happens to the person who's been doing all this abuse, that person feels bad for that.
Yes.
Say like they'll get in a fight where maybe someone attacks, someone beats his wife, and then the wife retaliates by going, "I can't take this anymore," and scratches him, and then she ends up feeling bad for hurting him.
Yeah. I think I remember a moment when I was walking down the street in Grimsby one time. There was this couple having a domestic situation outside their house, and he was shouting at her. She was screaming at him, and then he hit her. And I said, "Hey!" and I just instinctively went, because I was just walking past on the other side. I said, "Hey, watch it! Don't I went, "Hey!" It was just an instinct, and she turned around and started yelling at me.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, okay, I get it. I'll carry on walking." But she's screaming at me for telling him to stop hurting her. And it's that like dichotomy of realizing that, how dare you hurt the person who's hurting me? How dare you or say anything to him, because she knows that it will come back to her later, and is that fear.
Yeah.
And it's a horrible situation to be in.
Well, sorry, I know it's kind of flippant, but Bill Hicks made a joke about it, didn't he?
Yeah.
He was like, he didn't mean to run me over with his car. I fell asleep in the driveway. That kind of thing. I don't know why I put that accent on, but
That's a great accent. You don't need to explain. That's yep.
The last time that accent really made me laugh is I watched a documentary about people who have been struck by lightning, and they were all rednecks. It was so funny.
I know, and I think once you put that accent on, you're kind of owning the comedy. You're saying this is funny.
Yeah, I just remember going, "I didn't know you weren't supposed to play golf in a thunderstorm."
Yeah, but we look good wearing copper hats.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Brilliant.
We're all matching. It's good to be matching when you're with your family. Yeah. So yeah, but there is that criticism, and there's all that idea of this being a masculine's point of view of abuse, and it's more than that. It's less than that. It's not more than what it really is. It is what it is at face value.
It is, and I don't think only women can make films about this kind of thing.
Yeah,
a woman dealing with trauma. I think it's important to see, because you can't, all the right wing, not to try and make anything political, obviously, but when I was reading reviews on this, all right wing media people hated it and were saying it was just woke rubbish, anti-male woke rubbish is what they were saying.
Yeah.
It's like, oh look, another anti-man film.
See, the word woke, I mean, if you get rid of that word, then it makes it so much simpler to understand what the film is about.
Yeah.
Without the buzzwords, all these buzzwords kind of make things something that they're not. And woke is just never a word that you can associate with this. It's purely, I mean, what's different now than it was for Sophie's Choice? What's different now than it is for Kramer versus Kramer, or all of these movies that have been before? It's like the whole Disney thing with Wish being, when they're talking about Super Mario Brothers and how Princess Peach is capable and strength and a leader and but she's so pretty, but she's also very, and they're dancing around all these different words to describe women in their as strong characters, because they're trying to correct a whole century of women being used as dishcloths.
Yeah.
And
wow.
That's the darn truth. I mean, they've got to say this. They've got to have, they've got in every single press junket. They've got to talk about how strong and powerful and how how vital the women are in this in their roles, and how they're not being perceived as being anything other than capable.
Yeah.
And that women are not allowed to be incapable anymore. And so maybe with men, that sudden taking her out of that situation, putting her in as a victim yet again, is difficult for people to understand, because they are being washed over with all this stuff that has to be said in one way, and it can't be anything else.
Yeah.
So it's like you're not given a choice to actually have women in weak roles anymore, or you're not allowed to have men being assholes anymore.
Yeah, exactly. But then, what is weak?
Exactly. Weakness is such a
she is not weak in this film. She leaves despite his threats. She leaves him. That takes great strength.
She did have a lot of strength, and
she's clearly a successful businesswoman, because she's got that job that she's working, which she clearly makes a lot of money on. She can hire that huge place out for a week by herself. She has friends.
And
She's
I think
not weak.
they missed the point as well. Then at any step of the way, and this might have been. I don't think this is a fault of the film, but I never ever actually felt as though she was at threat.
But I don't think that's the point in the film.
Exactly.
She is
never actually a threat.
No, she is dealing with her own trauma.
Yeah, and
that's what that's why I thought that every aspect, every character she comes into contact with was just another aspect of her ex-husband.
And they're not there to be the Michael Myers character trying to hunt her down and kill her. Every moment when she is threatened, we know that this is her dealing with something else. So it's very easy for people to get confused and assume that this is direct horror, that all these men were actually supposed to be, that the tension isn't there, but it is. The criticisms are always going to be comparing with what is present in today's films, the society of what film is expected to be.
Yeah.
And because it's outside of that it gets confusing, and people either love it or they hate it for whatever reason.
And you get people like us who live on the outside of that and just want this kind of film all the time.
And just want, and it's not like we want this example of a film all the time, but we just want the stories to be told this way. We want the story to be told with ambiguity, to have a little bit of balls to actually go in a little bit deeper. It's a deep cut of a film, and it does get under your skin.
Could that be the quote? Just some balls that go in a bit deeper.
balls.
Get that on the poster.
And maybe she has more balls than all of those male characters put together, and maybe that's the point. She's able to handle them.
Yeah.
She handles all of them in her own way.
Yeah, she stands up for herself all the time.
Yeah.
She's just dealing with, because she saw a husband fall, and then when she went down to the road, she saw him lie there dying on the floor. So she's dealing with trauma, the trauma of that. She left the husband.
The PTSD trauma.
The PTSD of it.
Yeah.
She left the husband because he was controlling and they weren't right for each other.
Yeah.
So that's it. They split up. And she's just dealing with that, and this is how it's manifesting.
And that's no different to Julie Christie in Don't Look Now. It's no different to Julie Christie in Demon Seed. I mean, Julie Christie is kind of the epitome of a woman who is dealing with trauma. And so, in a way, in that sense, Men is nothing new.
You've got that far back to Antichrist.
I know.
That's they're dealing with the loss of the child.
Yeah.
And that's what all that's about,
Exactly. So when there is a fuss about a film like this, it's because the story doesn't match with society's ideals, and it tests those ideals and it questions those ideals. And like you said, if this was made by a woman, how different would it be?
Who knows?
Who knows? It's a bling thing. The bling ring.
It's the bling ring. Sophia Coppola again.
Yes, but
so what did you make then of the ending? When each character's given birth to itself.
Yeah, with spoilers. This is, well, I say spoilers, but it is a body shock.
It is. It goes total body horror. So it's kind of folk horror, psychological drama, body horror at the end.
Yeah, but it doesn't go full Wicker Man like The Kill List did. There's no cult, because this is all in her head. It's not like
Yeah.
it's a cult, but there are symbols of cult within the religious aspects of this and the birthing process, and the birthing of all these different personalities that end up being her husband, who all he wanted was for her to love him.
Yeah.
And then
And that-
all this, what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do with that?
But
Yeah.
But it's kind of it's sort of saying that like for forgiving everyone. So if we took that every one of those characters is a part as an aspect of a husband. So by forgiving each one, you're giving birth to it getting worse and worse.
Yes.
You know, you forgive him for not letting her go out for a night out, for instance,
Yeah.
and staying in with him. That then the next thing is a little bit worse, but she forgives it, and she forgives it, gets worse and worse. And after all that forgiveness, it turned into that's what you've created.
Yeah.
By letting him get
It's
away with
birthing
it.
yeah, and it's you've hit the nail on the head there, and it is
0.5%.
That is more than 0.5%, man. That's not 0.5% per birth, per push, per contraction. Yeah. Oh, let's not talk about birth. Oh, but yeah, let's. Yeah. So.
And just being like the way it was done is really well done as well, because obviously, you know, it's the woman that gives birth, not the man. But the man's giving birth to himself over and over again with these toxic sides of themselves as they're being born, and it's a really great scene.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. And it just happens there. It's not. There's no rushing it. You know, after each one, it's like, here we go again. Let's do it. And it basically you've moved away from the Little Britain League of Gentlemen aspect of all these different personalities being Rory Kinnear.
Yeah, Rory Kinnear.
And all of a sudden, he is the one character, the one thread that links everything through, and it makes sense that way.
Yeah.
You know, take that, David Williams.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, and
what a film! It's a really good film.
I mean, even the friend. I mean, let's talk about the women in this film. I mean, her friend. That was some incredible editing with those phone calls.
Yeah.
Just a simple phone call between her and her friend. You kind of get the idea that she's a brick for her. She's always going to be there. But then there's that little bit of uncertainty. And is that her doubt creeping in? Because for all those years when her friend has kind of tried to be there, when her husband was kind of controlling, every time she tried to help, something she probably didn't feel as though she could be helped by her. And I kind of get the feeling that maybe this is, now that he's gone, this is her chance to kind of be able to be there.
Well, if he's been controlling, he probably would have
shut out.
Yeah, knowing this from being a controlling person myself in the past, if you're really close to somebody else, that's the last thing that they want.
Yeah.
Whether it's conscious or not, I think mostly with these people, it's subconscious. They'll be saying, "Oh, she's not right for you. You shouldn't be talking to her. She's not right for you," and put all these doubts in your head.
Yeah.
So you end up not trusting that person anymore. When that person, all the person wants to do is look after you and care for you.
So when the phone call kept on cutting off and the lights started flashing, because it was when she's being helped, almost when she's actually been offered something, there's a moment in her mind that she goes, I can't accept help. I can't accept this.
Yeah.
And it's shutting down of the mind of saying, no, this can't happen.
It might be like being terrified of letting someone else in as well.
Yeah, terrified of letting someone else in.
Yeah, it can't be coincidence that she's gone to this huge house on her own.
Yeah.
You know, she could have gone with all her friends and just had a nice party a week away, but
yeah, just go away from it all, go to a beach and just it's not a coincidence, and it is.
That was an interesting where when she first gets there and the country, the rich country idiot character who's like, "Oh, do you play piano?" And she's like, "No, I
No.
don't." But she's brilliant at piano.
Yeah. And,
What a
and yeah,
what's that
detail.
about? What?
That's
Yeah,
detail.
it
That is
is.
detail. I need to pick up on that as well.
Yeah, and don't explain it. That's
No.
just a thing. Then she plays, and she can play piano brilliantly well.
She doesn't like to admit things about herself
Yeah,
that she's
she's
capable.
closed off. She's very
Yeah,
closed.
and that's it. She doesn't want to tell people what she can be.
So at the end, when her friend finally turns up, and you see the car she sees the car that's been smashed up a little bit, and then she sees her, doesn't she? And she goes over to her.
Yeah.
I would like to know what happens then. Does she just it all pour out what she's been through
smiling,
for the
but
past few
she
years?
was smiling.
Yeah, smiling. But is
She
it
was
because
smiling.
she's finally took on board everything that's happened
It's a
and
moment of
accepted it?
nature in her hand. She was holding. What was she holding in her hand? A flower.
Yes.
Was she holding a flower in her hand? She was holding something of nature in her hand. And I think that
She
was
was holding Thor's hammer.
yes, she had a Thor's hammer in her
Mjolnir.
hand.
She had
and-
Mjolnir.
Yeah.
Because she was
An
now
onion. She's
now
holding an
because-
onion.
Mjolnir. That's what the thing's called, the hammer. But because she's been through all this, she was now worthy and she could pick up. It's because Marvel's trying to take everything.
Yeah, that's it. I can't believe it. Oh, that's just... yeah. Andrew Garfield's in the sequel.
Yeah.
It's called Boys.
Yeah. Never say never Thor's hammer again.
In his home. Got to have home in the title somewhere.
Yeah. Home.
Yeah, home. But yeah. I mean, what was the significance, of course, of the friend being very pregnant, heavily pregnant? Is it self-correcting everything? Like, yeah, this is a woman's experience. Is it like everything is right in the world? And
I don't know, because is it just a little precursor to what's going to come in the film when all those men start giving birth to each other, or is it just that this is?
It's a nod to what was.
It could be, but it's also that is the power of a woman. A woman grows a human being inside of them, and then gives birth to it. That's like got to be the most powerful thing on this planet.
Not only is she dealing with that being heavily pregnant, she's driven all this way just to be there for a friend.
Yeah.
And so she, again.
She's selfless, not thinking about herself. She's purely thinking about her friend. And maybe that's her friend has just finally accepted that. Yeah. And that's maybe what the smile is for. It's like, actually, you've come all this way just for me. No one's ever done that. Or,
Wow. I mean, that's so much more optimistic than what I've heard in the reviews. I mean, that makes so much more sense.
I think so. Yeah. I think so.
That's good.
Yeah. Wow.
Like it. So do you recommend Men?
I recommend the film Men. Directed and written by Alex Garland, starring Jesse Buckley, Rory Kinnear, and that other person.
I really, really, really like Men.
Hey, and that's okay. You admit that.
That would be a soundbite. That'll be a T-shirt. No. Yeah, I also think this is a great film, and I hope Alex knows that, and I hope he knows that he did it right, and I think he's.
I think if Alex Garland is what we think he is, he doesn't care. He's made the film that he sets out to make, and he's happy with that.
It doesn't matter. It's in the past. It's done.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah. Very good.
What are we going to talk about next week, Andy? I think it's always fun to kind of just steer it to that.
How about films that have men in them?
The thing is, I think it's really good when we do a spotlight because we are very focused.
Yeah.
And if we ever do kind of like British film industry as a whole, we know we're going to just get weird stuff from my mouth.
It's too huge, isn't it? It's too huge weird stuff. Like I Like Men.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah, because I mean we've skipped over Annihilation, which is
We did, yes.
also a very good film. But we ain't got time to talk about it now. But that's also a very, very good film with lots
In
of
brief,
ideas.
yeah, and I do need to watch it again, and it is on Netflix still, isn't it? That one.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, because again, it's about extremes, and I think
Yeah.
that's where Alex is comfortable with putting beauty and uncomfortable and hostility with gentle nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, he knows how to balance it, find that balance, and that is that's Annihilation as well.
Yeah. So
scary moments in that too.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's a really, well, I don't want to use perfect, but it's a really great blend of the sci-fi, the horror, and the human element, and lots of ladies again.
Yeah, but it doesn't focus on this on science fiction tropes at all.
No, it doesn't. No.
There's really not a lot in there where you think, oh, this is space opera, this is a genre movie, this is it's not taking from anything else. It's purely what it is, and that's something that Alex Garland does. What he does, you can't compare with pretty much anything else that's out there.
No, that's true.
That's a good
virtue. Yeah. But what we talk about next week, I don't know.
Maybe we'll leave it as a mystery, and we'll just message each other in the week, and it'll be like, boom, so it'll be a surprise for next week.
I still want you to watch the that Inside. The
Inside Men with Jodie Foster, directed by Jodie Foster.
You're obsessed.
No, I'm just fascinated because she's actually
that Bo Burnham thing. I would like you to watch that and have your take on that.
Well, maybe we can do that and another movie that's fairly recent.
Okay.
Yeah. The last thing I saw was Super Mario Brothers, so that's not very good.
I've not watched that yet.
I know. It's very high octane.
With Chris Pratt in it around, just being Chris Pratt.
Yeah, being Italian, you know how he is.
Yeah, yeah.
So, okay.
Brilliant.
I know what we're doing. I know what we're doing. This is called the ending, right?
Oh, is this where it stops?
This is where the fun stops, Andy.
Oh no.
So, and we haven't mentioned anything of Michael Bay. What would Michael Bay do with men? Luckily, we didn't really need to.
No, we didn't need to, but Michael Bay's men would be lots of butch men. Oiled up.
Working out.
Yeah, lots of working out.
But not falling off buildings, but being exploding. There'll be
they'd be exploding buildings.
But landing on things as they come down. Mainly women.
It'd be a woman who's had to escape to a New York apartment to get away from her man, who's too good to her. It'd be more akin to Sex and the City 2 rather than the actual film. Then it'd be more like that.
Yeah, that
and she decides that maybe his dick's just a little bit too big for her. She needs to get away from him.
Mark Wahlberg, another role. Congratulations! So thank you.
Well done. I don't think you pick up on that little link there, but yeah, I was trying to get it around. So Mark Wahlberg.
Works.
There we go.
And of course, our sponsor to today is, as always, Liquid Storage Bags.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
And thank you very much, Andy Lewin.
Thank you very much, Stephen.
You've been great.
Thanks, you too. Where can we find you? What have you been doing?
Oh yeah, you can find our stuff at FBF. Sorry, is it FBF.stephenradford.com, which is frame by frame. Yeah. And all the other stuff is on Frame by Frame, and Face the Strange, which I realise is a song lyric.
Well done, yeah. It's from
Face the
Strange. Change.
And I heard it on the radio, and I was like, Face the Strange. Makes sense.
Yeah, that's where we got it from. Also, for that, can I plug something?
Please plug something. Yes.
Yeah. So what me and Tracy are doing, we've done it before. We recorded a Christmas song of every day of December from the 1st to the 25th. We did a few years ago when we raised money for Crisis, the homeless charity. Then we did it smack bang in the pandemic, and tried to advertise local businesses that were really struggling during the pandemic. This time we're doing it for it's called the Welcome Centre in Huddersfield. They're a food bank, and everyone's struggling at the minute. We actually went round to have a chat to them about what we're going to do, and what we're going to do. We record a Christmas song, we do a video, and we upload it every day of December up to Christmas Day. We're raising money for the food bank, but you can find everything on my socials. But I've not advertised it yet. But
I'm going to make sure that I have your link every day, and we'll get that out.
If I give you the Just Givings page, all asking is people to donate the price of a cup of coffee, £2, because everyone's struggling. And I'm hoping if we've got the band's got over 1,000 people on there, and we have nearly 6,000 people following us on YouTube. So if only a fraction of that does it, we'll be able to earn a bit of money. Oh, mate, it's actually heartbreaking. She was telling us a story of there's a family. They're both teachers. They both work in secondary schools, so they're both making decent money. They have a 4-bedroom house. They've got 3 kids. But because they can't earn any more money and the rise of cost of everything that's gone up, they now have to go to a food bank. They can't afford to buy food. It's criminal.
It is.
So we're doing what we can.
We can, and then this is going to be a worthy cause, and you're going to be putting a lot of work into this, and you should be commended for that.
Yeah, hell of a lot. It's a hell of a lot of work, and we're so busy during December with gigs, so it's going to be a huge task for us to do it, but we're going to do it. The price of a cup of coffee I thought was a good idea, because that's, so that's what we'll do.
Excellent. Yeah.
All right, buddy.
Thanks a lot, man. And,
thanks, man.
This has been Frame by Frame, and this has been Andy Lewin, and I've, of course, been me.
Well done. You're very good at being you.
Yeah.
In fact, no one could be you better than you, and I mean that.
Oh, you just...
Take that.
Oh. Bye.
Men, am I right?
I feel the need for speed.
This is fantasy.
Oh, you betcha, yeah.
Quit griping.
I like griping.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.